The people that I've come in contact with at eXp blows my mind that we're sitting here on a video. You're in Kentucky and we're learning from each other on Monday nights at a mastermind that we're in together. Like it's unreal.
Good morning, everybody. I am Tim Hollenden with the Hollenden team at eXp Realty in the Louisville, Kentucky market. And with me this morning is my dear friend, Ed English from South Jersey. Good morning, Ed. How are you, my friend?
Good morning. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. Who is that beauty behind you, man?
That is the Sunset Seeker.
Nice.
She's my 40-foot main ship trawler.
I love it. I bet we'll talk about her before we're done today.
Whenever you're ready. You know, I got a big story about her.
I bet you do. Yeah. I know a little bit. We put a teaser out there about the Great Loop, so I'm excited to hear all about that 5,000-mile boat trip. I mean, that's got to be the dream of a lifetime, I'm sure. But well, listen, Ed, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I really, really appreciate it. And if you would, go ahead and spend a few minutes and just talk about your real estate background. I know you've been in it for 32 years, right? Something like that.
32 years. Yeah.
Tell us your story.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me on. And so I got licensed in 1990. Okay, so that was before these things called cell phones existed. You know, my first one was attached to the dashboard of my car.
Mine too.
You know, and that was before the internet, and so we didn't have the information at our fingertips. We got these books every 2 weeks that looked like phone books of all the new listings in the county. So I started in 1990. I kind of like to tell this part because people say, well, how did you learn about real estate? So, you know, the little postcards you get in the mail, everybody gets them that says, just listed this house around the corner, just sold the house down the street. Well, I got a little postcard, and on there was a little box that said, check off if you're interested in a career in real estate. So I checked it off and I mailed it back, you know? So that's how I got into real estate, believe it or not.
Wow.
The manager called me. She brought me in, said, you'd be great. Let's do it. You know, let's go get your license and all that. So then I got into class, did all that. And then started with a family-owned company on the Northeast called Weichert Realtors. And great company, stayed with them, obviously, you see, for a lot of years. So basically, I was an independent sales person, right? So I just worked by myself. I didn't form a team, but in the 1990s, you didn't have teams. It was, you went out and you focused on your sphere of influence, you know, and you got leads that way. And then you build it from there. And then you got referrals, which is basically how I built my business all through the years, is referrals from past customers, repeat customers, all that fun stuff.
Right.
So then around 2000 we moved out here to Mullica Hill in 2000. So it was an area that was up and coming and it was growing. So I said to the powers that be, I said, you guys should open an office out here in Mullica Hill. Like, this area is growing. There's a lot of new construction. And they looked at the numbers and said, well, the numbers aren't quite there yet, but why don't you get your broker's license? Maybe we want you to manage it. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to manage it, but I'll go get my broker's license. So in turn, that's what I did. I got my broker's license. We opened an office in Mullica Hill for Weichert Realtors. And because these are corporate offices. I think you said there are Weichert in your area. They're franchises. So okay. Weichert owned 165 offices from Connecticut to Virginia, and they were corporate owned. Then they offered franchises, and then they spread through, the rest of the country. So right. 300 franchises. So we opened an office right here in Mullica Hill, and I became the manager, and I, built the office team of, recruited a bunch of agents and got them up and running, had a great successful office. And then as other brokers would come into town, they would steal my agents and offer them a higher split or cash to come over or whatever it is. And
right.
That was the game. That was part of that game. So I managed the office for 10 years. which that part of the game gets a little frustrating. And, and I went back into sales. So when I went back into sales, 2014, I think, 15. Yep, because it was about 10 years. The office opened in 2005. And, I kicked butt just like I used to. And, there's a lot less stress. As soon as I walked out of that position, the stress just kind of like dropped right away, I know we'll talk about it later, but you ran it off. You were a broker owner. So stress is not good for you. That's for sure. So did really well. Had a couple really good years. Then I got a little thing called cancer, and no big deal. People didn't even know I was sick because I didn't talk about it. I just did my thing, So the cancer wasn't that hard to deal with. They used radiation and they killed it. Okay. The problem is the radiation caused a couple other problems that went on for years. In total now, that was 2017 when I had the first, that surgery. Then in 2019, so 18 started some of the symptoms and, it made it hard to work. And then 2019, I had some treatments and some medications and different things to try to help the symptoms. Well, everything they give you has another side effect. It's like, it's like, well, this does great for the symptoms, but then when I get up in the morning, I feel like I'm going to pass out, So 2019, I had surgery to fix one of the problems, and it worked for a little while, but it really didn't last. And another year later, same things were coming back. So basically, this time last year was pretty bad. Okay, I'm going to July, August, September. I was getting sick again. Symptoms, not the cancer, right? So right. I found a new doctor. I'm like, I got to find another doctor, get another opinion. So went to one guy that somebody recommended, and he's like, well, you're in the right place, but I'm not the right guy. You need to see my partner because he does this, I go to see him. He does this every day. He's like, your damage is so severe that I'm afraid if I get in there, I'm not going to be able to finish what I need to do. So I want you to go see this guy, right? And this guy is Dr. at Einstein in Philadelphia. And he is, a blessing to me. He gave me my life back. I had major surgery with him November 11th last year, 2021. And it took 4 months before I got better because it was not fun. And so February of 2022, I started feeling better, started having better days, like some good days in between the, maybe not so good days. And then the good days were getting better and better. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm getting better, and I kind of still getting better every day, but I am so much better now. Like I'm back. Yeah. So I, so during those lean times, I couldn't work as much. I had some things going on with, so I joined eXp in the middle of all this, right? So I joined eXp September of 2019. So let's go to that part. So I'm going to backtrack to 2019. So, okay. So it was, again, I'm dealing with I don't know if you want to call them health issues. Again, nobody even knew I was sick. When I told them afterwards, like I didn't tell people till afterwards. Now that I'm better, I tell people I was sick. But, right. I didn't talk about it when I was sick. But it wasn't like I couldn't work when I had all these symptoms. It's like I was limited, and sometimes I'd feel good and sometimes I'd feel really bad. And so I could maybe get some momentum going, and then I get knocked down again, and then I get momentum going and I get knocked down again. And you know how important it is get momentum going in this industry. And
Absolutely.
so it was, I know it was July. I don't know the exact date. It was right after the 4th of July. It was early July. I went into the office, and my focus that day was, that's it. All my good listings are gone. You know, I have a few listings, but they're not, you know, like I've sold my good inventory. I got to get going again. I got to get in there, and I got to get a hold of all my past clients and all my sphere of influence and get some more business going and you know, go on another run, right? That's what I do. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the history of my business is the roller coaster, up and down and up and down.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the only one, but so I went in focused on doing that, literally focused on doing that. So my office mate, Kathleen Smith, who, thank God she brought this to me, right? So she went and met with eXp, and she had met before with Remax and Berkshire Hathaway and Coldwell Banker, and she would ask me, because like I was her mentor. I introduced, she got into the business because of me, and I managed. She worked on my with my office, you know. So I made her successful, and you know, helped her she made herself successful, but I helped her, right?
Sure.
So she tells me she met with this guy at eXp, and I'm like, eXp, who the hell's that? I never even heard of him. I never heard of him. And I knew who the guy was that she met with. And I'm like, well, I seen he has different signs. I knew he was with Remax. I figured he opened his own little office, but I never knew it was called eXp. I knew there were different signs. That's all I knew. So she says, well, you know, it's an 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap, and there's no 6% franchise fee. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, how can they do that? They're never going to make any money. Like, because I wore the other hat. I know what it's all about. I know how hard it is to turn a profit when you're on the brokerage side. There, you got all the expenses, you got all the liability, you got all the infrastructure, everything. You know, you got a lot of bills, right? You got to make every month, you know, clear. So I'm like, that's BS. There's no way they could do that. So she tells me this, and I'm like, well, no. She goes, no, it's true. So the next morning, I did what Jay Kinder will tell you is do the math, because I did the math. I took my spreadsheet of all the sales I had year to date, and I figured it out. Now, for me, it wasn't a whole lot more, but it just seemed a whole lot more fair. Like the numbers weren't crazy, because I did generate a lot of business from, and by the way, I did like 48 deals a year, you know, 36, 48 deals a year with no assistant, no buyer's agent, nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just little old me. But you know, but I did do some relocation business, right? And I liked it. It was handed to you. You know, you could go out and, you know, you don't get every one of them, but you know, when you start figuring all this out with eXp and 80-20 split and no other fees, it really changed my perspective. So I figured out on a relocation deal. Let me ask you a question. This is a trick question. So let me ask you a question. What do you think my net commission percentage was on a deal that went to relocation, where, you know, I have to pay the referral fee and all that?
Wow.
Take a guess.
I hope I can get pretty close, because I did a lot of relo work in my Remax days and my ERA days as well. I would say probably 35%, something like that. That's
close. Well, you're pretty much, you're almost right on, except then they take the 6% off of that.
Yeah.
So I was at 28.5% on those deals. And I'm like,
wow.
What the hell? Jay Kinder would tell you, you're an idiot. You shouldn't be doing those deals. That's what he would tell you. You're spending all this time doing this deal for 28.5%. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. And it's part of his story, actually. He says how he didn't do those, you know? But, you know, I didn't say no to anything. I would do anything.
Right.
I would do it all. So I did the math, and I'm like, okay, so it's a little bit less if I take out all the deals that I got from them, it's more on the deals that I didn't get from them, a lot more, right? So I'm like, so that part's done, right? Then I start doing my research. So then I start going all over the internet looking for, one of the things I looked for was something negative, right? So I find this negative YouTube video. I'm going to tell you who it was in a second. It was like, why I didn't join eXp. And right, so I watched this video, and he basically said, it's just not for me right now, or I don't think he said right now. It's just not for me. I want to build a coaching company, and I don't know if it's going to work for me to build my coaching company, right? So, but he
exactly
really wasn't,
who you're talking about.
He wasn't really down on eXp. He was saying it was a great company. It just wasn't for him.
Yeah.
So good for him. He didn't burn any bridges, because it's Ricky Carruth, and he's now with eXp.
Right. I knew that's who you were talking about.
And I'm like, holy crap, the one guy that I got, that said something negative wasn't even really that negative. All right. Yeah. And then, so I watched all these videos of Jay Kinder, and, all right. So I'm going to go to my story in a second. So I watched all these videos because the guy sent me these, links. Before my meeting with him, he sent me these links to watch, right? So of course, Brent Gove's video, the model explained, and like it just goes into all these other things besides the 80-20 split that is why I came here, right?
Right.
It goes into all these, the stock and the revenue share, and I'm like, holy crap, how do they do that? How can where this is too good to be true. So I'm digging, and I see this. One of the clinchers was Gene Frederick. So I'm watching this guy Gene Frederick for the first time. I didn't know who Gene Frederick was, and he says he owns 6 Remaxes and a region, and he folded all up and went to eXp, and I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, he actually owned Kellers though, not Remaxes.
You're absolutely right. That was a faux pas.
He owned Northern California's region, Hawaii, and something Texas, around the Austin, Texas market, if I remember.
Yeah, 6 offices in Texas, right? Yeah, I don't know why I said Remax. Yeah, but Keller,
that's all right.
Yeah, the guy that I talked to used to be with Remax, but anyway, yeah. So Keller Williams, and like I said, this guy left all of that to do this, like that's that, like he was set, basically he was set where he was for life.
Yeah.
So I met with so I did all my research. I found this PowerPoint. I found this slideshow online, because what I love about eXp is everything is transparent. Like it's, you can find out the same thing. Like you just Google eXp. I mean, it's their whole business model is completely online. And I watched I went through all these slides, and I had all these notes. So I go into my meeting with this guy, right? And I'm not all happy-go-lucky Ed, like gullible, right? I go in like this. I'm like, okay, so how do they do that? Okay, because he played that same slideshow for me. I'm like, okay, well, that's great, because I have notes on every slide.
Right.
So I'm like, well, how in the world do they do that? How can they do that? And how do they do this? Like, I'm asking them all these questions. So he gets done, doing the whole thing. And then at the very end of his presentation, he says, so let me show you who my business partners are. And he says, he has these slides up there of Jay Kinder, Michael Reese, and Al Stacy, right? And I'm like, so he goes, do you know who Jay Kinder is? And I'm like, nah, the name kind of rings a bell, but I don't know who he is, right? So he goes, well, Jay Kinder and Michael Reese are National Association of Expert Advisors. They're coaches. They run a coaching company. And I'm like, son of a bitch, that's the guy. I said, hold on a second. So literally, I'm sitting there, and one of the last agents that resigned from my office when I was the manager to go to Remax, okay, was it was the day before Thanksgiving, which that's a fun day. You don't want to be. He ruined my weekend, but whatever. But God bless him. He had to do what he had to do, And I know now what happened, right? So he had a meeting with me. I got him as high as they would take him on the schedule. They wouldn't take him any higher. I couldn't get him approved to go higher. He didn't earn it, right? So he's like, "Is that as high as you can go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's as high as we can go." So when you come back from vacation in Texas, right? When you come back from Texas, we'll have a meeting right after Thanksgiving, and I'll bump up your business. We'll show you how to get to the next level. Because most of the time, the answer is, if you want to get to the next level, you want to make more money, what do you got to do? Sell more houses. That's what you got to do. That's what they told me my whole career. And it is true. But there's another way now, a much better way. So he resigns. My manager, my RVP at the time, tells me, "Well, you know where he went in Texas, don't you?" And I'm like, "No, where'd he go in Texas?" He goes, "He went to Kinder Reese. He went to Kinder Reese coaching." I'm like, "Who's that?" I have no idea, right? So then this guy tells me about Michael Reese, Kinder Reese coaching. I'm like, son of a bitch, that's the guy. So what they tell the agent is, when they go to coaching, is you got to find a place where you keep more of your dollar,
Yeah.
And that's what he did. I don't blame him. So isn't that kind of like, it goes around, the world goes around and around, right? So
it does. So
so the next day I go into my office and Kathleen comes in and she goes, "So what'd you think?" And I'm like, "Well," she goes, "You didn't like it, did you?" I'm like, "Well, I can't think of a reason not to do this." Okay. So I just jumped because, at the time I wasn't even on the 80-20 split. And even the 80 at my company, minus 6%, is 74. And then, you could get to a cap. You could get to a cap at that company, but it was like 32,000, and it didn't include the 6% that they take off the top.
Yeah.
So it's like,
you still paid the franchise fee forever.
Right. Even if you got to 100, you're at 94. So I'm like, this is a no-brainer. At this stage of my career, I'm ready to do it. Plus, I was still having some health issues, so I'm thinking I either had to get in there and do this again, or fade out and retire. So in the meantime, I joined eXp. I got a few people in my group, so there was a little bit of money coming in from revenue share, but not a lot, really, not a lot. And but I would just work in between. My wife always worked full time, so we could get through the times when I couldn't work because I was sick. But now I'm not sick anymore. So February I started feeling better, and then I reset in my mind that, okay, now's my start with eXp, not 2019. And so since then, I've been able to build. I have a group of 29 agents now that I call Team EE, and
Nice.
now I have a little revenue share.
Yep.
Right. So,
well, let me do this. I don't want to interrupt your story, but if that brings us to today, I'd like to go back and ask you a couple questions about your past. But if you're not finished yet, finish, and then we'll do that.
No, that brings me to today.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about the future.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about her too. Because our stories are similar. I didn't realize how similar, and I'm not going to get into my story, but speak to the agent that has not yet had, fortunately, a life-changing event like you and I both had. Speak to the agent that's on that transactional treadmill because they're living commission check to commission check. And life happens. Someday, somehow, somewhere, somebody in our life will impact our ability to do what we do today as realtors. Talk to that for just a moment, because obviously, I mean, you've got a phenomenal story. And man, congratulations, cancer-free. It's been 4 or 5 years now, and the side effects are gone. You look great. You sound great. You're clearly excited about what you're doing. So talk to that agent that's on the transactional treadmill.
Yeah. So, you hear it different ways, but, basically every month even Jay Kinder says his best year, he sold 535 homes, right? He said that was one of his worst years too, because the stress. How do you sell 500? Like he said, I had, like how many closings in a month? I don't know, 30 closings. I don't know, more than that.
Right.
So he, you lose your time freedom. So to speak to an agent that's on that transactional hamster wheel, like the clock starts again at zero. Every January 1st, if you want to do it again, you got to do it again. Like if you made $250,000 last year, because you sold 60 homes in my market, it takes a lot in my market, right?
Yeah,
but
mine too.
Yeah. So you don't sell 20, but so if you made 200 grand and you want to make 200 grand again, you got to sell 60 homes again. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to do that time and time again? And it's just, it's grueling. So there really wasn't much of an answer, but now there really is. And I can't tell you anybody that doesn't join eXp, if they're thinking about it, it's because they didn't really look at it. They don't really know it, because there's multiple streams of income. So I've only been here 3 years now. And, did I get rich off the stock? No. But do I have stock? Yes. Do I have stock from the other company I was with for 29 and a half years? No, I have no stock from them. Okay. So I have some stock. Some of it's a grant, some of it's given to you. As you know, you can earn stock with your production.
Sure.
And I'm not an icon agent either, by the way. That is the clincher, right? I would have been all those years,
That's an awesome stock award there. $16,000 worth of stock.
$16,000 in stock. I mean, come on, man. It's a no-brainer. So I have some stock, but now I have revenue share. I have 29 agents. When they have a settlement, I get a little piece. It's not a big piece, but I get a little piece. And today's the 20th. It's coming out today. So I mean, I'm not one of those that's like, I'm not living large where it's going to make a huge impact on me today. But right. But it's not chump change either, Right. It's not chump change either. So so I have revenue share. So you can build a little bit of revenue share. You can build a lot of revenue share. You can get a little bit of stock. You can buy stock at a 10% discount when you have settlement. You can pledge 5% to buy stock, which I do. So I have stock that way too.
Yeah, that's awesome benefit. Buying $10 bills for $9 a piece. I mean, who would not do that, right?
Yeah. So I would encourage you to look at this model, because there's so much more to offer. Now, when you look at it, you're going to scratch your head and you're going to go, "That's too good to be true." I mean, but I did too. And then when I looked into it, but now that I've been here, I know exactly how they make money, and I know exactly why they can share. That comes. I'm not going to throw numbers because that would be wrong, but I saw a number recently on one of my Facebook posts about how much stock they gave away in August. I think it was 1.3 billion or something. It was like insane, right? And then and the revenue share, they're making millionaires. I mean, it's stocks making millionaires too. I mean, it's just so you have an exit strategy, right? And the gentleman that introduced me, that showed me the model, told me this about an exit strategy, and I'm like, I never thought of an exit strategy as a real estate agent. You don't have a 401k unless you start your own. You don't. Right. The best way to get successful as a real estate agent is to buy rental properties and then manage them and sell them. Well, you don't know me that well, but I'm known as Mr. Nice Guy. Well, Mr. Nice Guy decided I'm not going to have rental properties because, my tenant comes crying to me that they lost their job and they can't pay the rent. I'm going to be like, well, okay, just skip this month. Like that's not how you become a good, successful landlord.
Yeah.
So, but that's me. That's me. So you got multiple streams of income, and there's even more ways to make money at eXp if you really want to. There's multiple streams of income, and but I enjoy helping the agents grow, and I enjoy bringing an agent to eXp, and then when they've been here and they see that this stuff is real, it's like they're better off. One of the things that I like the most is that everybody starts at an 80-20 split with a $16,000 cap. There's no special deals, right? So so when you're getting a special deal, well, if you're the one receiving the special deal, then maybe it's okay. But if you're one of the other ones in the office or the company, then why are they getting a special deal and I'm not? Okay, so everybody can't get a special deal, right?
Level playing field. I love that.
I love the transparency of the company because of that. And it's, I don't care if you sold 100 million last year, you're on 80-20 with a 16,000 cap, and then you go to 100%, which is a true 100%. And by the way, I didn't make icon, but I did cap, and I only really worked 6 months this year because my cap date was August, my renewal date was September. So, I was pretty surprised. I looked at my check and I'm like, I got too much. What happened? So I looked it up. I'm like, oh shit, I capped. I didn't even know I capped. It's like,
what a great surprise.
I know, for 29 years, I never capped.
Yeah.
Never had the pleasure of experiencing that. So that's a good feeling,
Now you built your career, you said earlier, on word of mouth, past clients, your sphere of influence. Did you ever buy any leads at all, like a lot of agents do? Did you ever dip your toe into that water?
No, but early on, like Weichert did have a good lead generation program that they, you could opt into that. You had to meet certain criteria, but then you paid the referral fee.
Right.
So I did do plenty of those, but no, I pretty much would work my sphere of influence, and get referrals from them. And that's the best business to have anyway. But, did I do farming and stuff like that? Sure. Did I do it? Do I do it like these guys do it now? Like Andrew Gaydosh? My God, the guy's got 90% market share in his lakefront community.
Yeah.
It's like the people that I've come in contact with at eXp blows my mind that we're sitting here on a video, you're in Kentucky, and we're learning from each other on Monday nights at a mastermind that we're in together. Right. And it's unreal, and high caliber people all over the country, all over the world for that matter.
I've heard we've got the number 1 and or number 2 agent in 30 out of the 50 states, something like that. I mean, a lot of the best producers in the world are with us, which is exciting, obviously.
Yeah.
You had no assistant.
Nope.
You did it on your own the entire time.
Yeah, always.
Is that, and this is the coach coming out in me, is that what created some of your peaks and valleys? Because it is said that, when you're not selling, you're managing all the deals to the closing table. And then when you're doing that, you don't have time to prospect for more business. And that creates those
absolutely
ebbs and flows or peaks and valleys. Is that your story pretty much? And
absolutely.
What would you say to the agent that doesn't have an assistant? And at what point should somebody consider an assistant?
Well, if you join Tim or I at eXp, we have a chart for that from Jay Kinder. It tells you when to get assistant. Probably right about where I am, like doing 24 to 48 deals a year is where you're never going to get to the next level, according to them, which, let's face it, these guys are wicked smart, man.
Or you're going to ruin your personal life if you do a few more deals.
Right.
We've all been there too. Vacations where you're sitting on your laptop and everybody else is out building sandcastles. I've done those.
yeah, exactly. I've worked on my vacation. Yeah, I did all those things. Yeah. So I'm not going to say I'm not going to say I'm the dumbest realtor out there, but I certainly wasn't the smartest one when it came to doing, getting an assistant or building a team. And but I had a kind of a bad taste in my mouth about teams because in the beginning, basically I saw a team as in the beginning when teams started to happen, right? I'm in a management position, and an agent that, like, you know, the number one agent in an office wants to take the number 4 agent in an office and put them on their team. Well, they're only doing that to keep more of the company dollar, like, you know, reduce the company. You know, they're like the office doesn't benefit from that. They do, you know. See, at eXp, it's not done that way. Like, you can build whatever as big a team as you want. And we mentioned earlier, icon agent. You know, when you become an icon agent, you get the $16,000 back in stock. Well, to build a team at eXp, see, you know, I don't have a bad taste about teams now that I see how it should be done. Number one, the team leader should be providing some value, you know, or leads or both or whatever, and support and training and all that other stuff. Well, but that's not how it was in the beginning when teams started. Somebody would say, well, you're making 60%, I'm making 80%. Why don't you join my team? I'll give you 70%, but everything goes in my name. Well, now the company just lost 10%. That's what happened, you know. You know, whether you look at it that way or not, that's what happened, and it wasn't benefiting, like, for, you know, and I knew that because I wore the other hat. I could see what was going on. So, but now at eXp, you can build, I don't know, an independent team. You could build a small team. You could build a mega icon team. They actually reduce the caps of your agents on your team. And but you got to provide value. And look at the teams we got: Veronica Figueroa, Dan Beer. Holy crap! They're doing phenomenal amounts of business, like, on the team. It's not like they build it. It's like their own brokerage, basically, is what they got. Yeah,
without the legal liability.
You got that right.
I've been there, done that.
Yep.
Well, this is so cool. Again, so glad you're doing well now. Obviously, the revenue share helped when you didn't feel like working that month or 2 months or 6 months or 9 months, or, you know, I know you went through a lot, and certainly glad you're doing well. Let's, if you're ready, let's move to why Ed English is going to be able to get on that boat in the not too distant future and take a 1-year tour. Talk about that. It's called the Great Loop, I believe. Is that correct?
Yep. It's called America's Great Loop, and Sunset Seeker. We're going to get on her and take her from. So I have her in the Chesapeake Bay in Maryland. I'm in South Jersey, but it's only an hour and a half to my marina. So the Chesapeake Bay is a nice place to go boating. So so basically, my wife's going to retire in a little over a year, and you know, she'll have a pension, you know, right? So we could retire and do this without me, because I bought that boat when I was sick. When I was a year ago, when we started talking, so I'm going to go back a little bit. So we rented this canal boat on the Erie Canal about, I don't know, 6, 8, 10 years ago with all the kids before they started all going to college. And I figured it's the last time all the kids are going to be together. So we took this 40-foot canal boat on the Erie Canal. You go from town to town, and you dock up overnight, and then you go through all these locks. It was a lot of fun. Well, my wife heard about this thing, the Great Loop, on that canal trip, because that's part of the Great Loop. So she put it on her bucket list. So she last year, when the shit was hitting the fan for me, when it was getting really bad, right? She said, we can't afford to do this anymore. We can't afford a boat. There's no way. You haven't been working much for the last couple of years. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, hold on. I got some money in a 401k. We don't know how long I'm going to be around. We're going to get a boat. Let's get a boat. Who cares, right? And then, so we bought a boat, and then I started feeling better, which is even better. So now I get to be healthy on the boat, because what I figured was, if I'm going to be sick I could be sick on the boat, right?
Yeah, might as well be out on the water.
Who the hell cares?
Places to be sick, right?
Let's just do it. Let's just do it. What are we going to do?
I love it.
Right. So I spent some of my kids' what's it called? Inheritance.
Inheritance. Yeah.
What the Sunset Secret, right? So we could do it without revenue share, but revenue share is sure going to make it a little easier to go on a great loop, because I can work from that boat. All I need is the internet to do things like we're doing right here, and support everybody in my group. And if I can get 29 agents, I can build that up to 50 and 100. As you know, you're over that. So, that's my goal. My goal right now is by May of 2024. That's when we're leaving for the Great Loop, and you leave in the spring on the East Coast, and I'll tell you why. So my goal is to get to 100 agents by that time, and that way I'll have my pension, right? My revenue share will be my pension, right? It'll be coming in every month, and there's no guarantees that it's going to come in every month, but if more people you have, somebody's going to have a settlement, right? So we're leaving in May of 2024. We go across the C&D Canal to the Delaware Bay, around New Jersey, past the Statue of Liberty, which is going to be a lot of fun. My boat will have, you get a buddy boat, you get other boats that are in the area and say, take pictures of my boat, I'll take pictures of your boat, and we'll have pictures of my boat, and I'm going to track, this will all be online on Facebook and everything.
Oh, cool.
So, I'm going to post it all. So my boat in front of the Statue of Liberty, that is so cool, and then you dock that night, or a couple nights, whatever, with the Manhattan skyline across the water from your boat.
Yeah.
And I like being in the country, so there's wilderness involved in this too. So then you go up the Hudson River, to make it a little bit short, you go across the Erie Canal, you get on the Erie Canal, you start going west, and then there's multiple ways you can go. You can go all the way across the Erie, but we're going to go north on the Oswego Canal. It takes you into Lake Ontario, and you cross into Canada. And in Canada, you do something called the Trent-Severn Waterway, and that is going to be majestic and magnificent, because you're going to go through Canada and anchor out in these beautiful, like, little alcoves and stuff, right? And all through this, you go through all these locks. Canada has a couple really neat locks, like they're really cool. I'll go real quick. One of them is like, you pull into this bucket of water, and then there's a bucket at the top that brings the boat down and then brings you up at the same time, and it's like 65 feet high. It's pretty cool.
Wow.
Another one, they have a road, and then they couldn't get around it, so they went over it with this railway. They picked your boat up on this like roller coaster looking railway thing, and it goes over the road and then into the water on the other side. It's so cool. Man, it's going to be great, right? So then you come out of there, you go into Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, go down to Chicago, right? You go right through Chicago. You can go right downtown Chicago. There's a waterway. It's so cool.
I love that waterway in Chicago.
Yep. Then you get down and you do Canada in the summer. You do the river system in the fall. So then you go down the Illinois, the Ohio, the Mississippi, the Ohio, the Tennessee, Tom Bigby Waterway, whatever that is. It's a canal that connects two waterways. And then you come out in Mobile, Alabama. So you come out in Mobile, Alabama, and it has to be after a certain date because of hurricane season.
Right.
November something. Like you don't.
Yeah, June 30 to November 30 is hurricane season.
Yeah, you don't want you can't, your insurance doesn't cover you if you go into the Gulf of Mexico during hurricane season.
Wow.
Put it that way. So you got to time things. Now you can get insurance for that, but
yeah.
So then you go down. So then you end up in the Gulf of Mexico. Then you go down around Florida, and we're going to spend Christmas in the Keys, baby. We're going to be anchored out, docked up, whatever, in Key West or Key Largo or wherever, and spend Christmas in the Keys. Then you come around Florida and you come up the Intracoastal Waterway, which you can go out in the ocean if you want, but the Intracoastal Waterway is the easiest, smoothest way to go. stop at all these little towns. You stop
Yep.
at St. Augustine, spend a couple days there. You check out all these towns, and then you come up to, Charleston, South Carolina, and you go to North Carolina, and then you go to Virginia. Come up through that again in the spring, and then you come back to the Chesapeake Bay, and you do what's called crossing your wake. So wherever I leave from, which is Rock Hall, Maryland, when I pull into Rock Hall, Maryland, I cross my wake and I made the loop.
Nice.
And it's about, depending on how you go, it's about 6,000 miles, and it takes about a year. But you can do it faster. There's some guy doing it right now on a jet ski, man. Nuts.
Yeah.
So you can do it faster, but my boat goes 8 knots, 9, 10 knots. I can go 16, but then I'm sucking up the fuel. But I do have twin engines, so I can go 16 if there's a storm coming and I got to get the heck out of the way.
Right.
I can go 16 if I have to.
Cool.
But that's the America's Great Loop, and everybody that puts it on their bucket list, God bless you, because it's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
It's going to be a blast. And
Are
I don't
you taking passengers by chance? No, you and your wife need to do that by yourself. I'm kidding, but man, what an excursion that'll be.
Yeah, that is amazing. I'm so glad she found it, and I'm so glad that it gives us something to look forward to. And that's what I said, is let's do it anyway. It gives us something to look forward to. Well, now I'm feeling better, and I can still do it, and I can still work a little bit too. Right. Because why can't I interview the top agent in every one of these little towns? That's what I'm thinking.
Absolutely.
So
you can
cool.
do it on your boat live. You don't have to use this tool called StreamYard that we use.
That's right. Do it on the Sunset Seeker.
Well, I look forward to following that journey on Facebook or wherever you're going to be posting. That'll be exciting. I followed a lady and another eXp agent who did that actually, maybe she wasn't an eXp. Anyway, it doesn't matter who she's with. They did that all down through the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And man, what's some beautiful photos that they had. And that was cool to follow them. But and obviously you're blessed to have your health back. You and your wife are blessed. She's got retirement income. You've got retirement income from eXp, and that's what's making this life journey possible for you guys. So congratulations on that. Look forward to that. So as we start to wrap up, obviously, let's get into a little bit of the market right now. Obviously, this is a changing market. You've been in one or two changing markets, been in the business 32 years. I've been in one major changing market, the recession of 07, 8, 9. I don't feel like we're in a real estate recession. I think it's more of a correction. In fact, I did a post last week basically telling the world that, houses are still going to go up in value. They're just going to go up at a slower rate than what we've seen the last 2 years, more like what we were accustomed to. And nobody can predict the future. But, if we see 3% appreciation again every year for years, like we did for 40 or 50 years, I think that'll be a wonderful thing, because obviously it's been a crazy, crazy real estate world. But what would you say to the agent that has not experienced a market and sorry about that, hasn't experienced a market that they needed to work through in a correction, or if it becomes a recession, how do you coach that agent that's maybe only been in the business 4 or 5 years and has never seen that?
Well, you got to stick to the basics, and you got to, number one that I think an agent right now should be looking at is dollars and cents, because what might happen is, my market's not tanking either. It's staying pretty strong, and the values are definitely staying strong, and we still have multiple offers, maybe not as many of them, right? But it's going to hit because it's going to make, there's going to be some kind of an impact. So if you're an agent and you did 40 deals last year, and next year you only do 30 because the market slowed down so much, you got to be looking at your expenses. So what are you spending money on, and what do you, what's your take from your broker, right? Because I think now more than ever, this is a beautiful opportunity to align yourself with eXp. And whether it's Tim or myself, Nobody else. No, whoever your friend is, right? Because when somebody shows this to you, they're showing you as a friend. They're showing you because they believe, as I believe, that this is the greatest opportunity in all of real estate. Absolutely. And because of that, like it's like nothing I have ever seen in 32 years. Let's face it, nothing, and it's innovative and creative. When I joined eXp 3 years ago, there were 24,000 agents. Now there's 84,000 agents.
There were 6,800 when I joined.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, when I joined eXp, I'm like, well, I'm branded. Everybody knows me. Everybody knows me from Weichert. Everybody knows I'm branded. I can't go rebrand, and I never even heard of eXp. Who the hell are they? So
the key words you said is everybody knows me.
Well, I'm leading into a story. So I take a listing of a guy that I know from church for 20 years, right? So I list his investment property. He goes, "Oh, so you're with eXp?" I say, "You're not with Century 21 anymore?" And I'm like, "Dude, I've never been with Century 21. What the hell?" So they don't know. They list with me.
They don't care.
No,
they're doing business with us, our personality, our offering, how we're going to market their home. That's what they're doing business with. They don't care what brand you're with.
So as far as the market shift, number one, watch your dollars and cents, because now you can come to eXp where it's an 80-20 split with no other fees. That 6% fee, Remax has it. Everybody pays franchise fees. Sometimes it's 7 or 8%. I mean, let's face it. So, like, that's a big chunk of change that stays in your pocket. So, here's the thing. The other way to look at that, as far as your income, all right. So, can you get to 100% at eXp? Yes. Can you get to a full 100%? If you're an Icon agent, you get your cap back. Mm-hmm. Now you're at 100%. That means you got all of it. Right? If your cap is 16,000 and they give you 16,000 in stock, then you worked, you didn't pay anything to your broker, theoretically, which is almost true, but it's off by a little bit. But then if you have anybody in your revenue share group, even a couple people, now you're over 100%. If you have quite a few, you're way over 100%.
Right.
Even though I capped and I didn't become an Icon, I didn't get the 16,000 back. I'm almost certain that I have more than 16,000 in revenue share income, so I'm already over 100%.
Right.
And I only worked 6 months this year.
So let me bring you back to the question about what do you have to say to the agent that's not been through a correcting market?
Sorry.
That's all right.
Keep yourself educated on everything that's happening right now.
Yeah.
You have to study your market. You have to study your real estate's hyper local. It might be, over here in Willowbrook Farms, it might be strong, but over here in, Mullica Chase, it might be weak. You got to study your market and always be ready with statistics. Jay Kinder will tell you, keeping current matters, things like that. Stay on top of the market.
So that's great advice. Staying on top of the market. You said get back to the basics. You said check all your expenses. And I think that led us down the eXp path again, because obviously our motto is very inexpensive. Something I always coach agents on is, it's true that, because I saw this in the 2007 recession, a lot of agents, probably almost half of them, sat on the sidelines and complained about how bad the market was. So I tell people, just double down. Don't be one of those agents that sits on the sidelines and complains. Rise above it. Double down on your marketing. Double down on calling your sphere, your past clients. Stay top of mind. There's all kinds of advertising we can do for free. Picking up the phone is free. Posting on social media is free. Creating a video is free. All those things. Because if you stay top of mind as the market shifts, and it will, I look at the real estate market as a pendulum. It's swinging to this extent right now, and it's going to swing back to this extent, which is where we've been the last 2 years. So, it needs to normalize and just stay right here in the middle, in the sweet spot. But if you do those things that Ed has said and a few things I've added to it, you're going to be top of mind when this market correction is over, and you'll be getting all the business away from the agents that sat on the sideline and complained about how bad the market was and used it as an excuse not to work. So that's my 2 cents, just to add to what you've said. But as we wrap up, we want to close this in no more than about 5 minutes. Are there any parting comments? I love your story. It's a long story, but I hope agents get it. We've got to be prepared to maybe have to get off the treadmill because life is going to get in the way.
Yeah.
You'll hear my story later. I've got a similar story to.
Yeah. I'll get you on Team Double E podcast.
Yeah, I'll be happy to participate in that. But, my life changed with my story, just like yours did. And if it wasn't for another source of income, when you're an agent and you're used to living commission check to commission check, most agents aren't saving to pay their quarterly estimate taxes, yet alone saving for retirements, what I've seen. But we've got to be prepared, and obviously our model does that. But any final comments you'd like to leave that's kind of new and different than what we've already talked about?
Well, I don't know that it's new and different, but I would say that an agent needs to focus on themselves as their own brand. Okay, mm-hmm. This is no longer like, they're only listing with me because I'm with Remax. That's gone. Maybe that used to be that way 20 years ago, but that's not that way now. So You're your own brand. So you're in your own business. So if you're in your own business, you have to look at it as a business and treat it as a business, because that's what you need to do when you sit down and look at your expenses and things like that. It's a business. And I would invest in yourself. Like, the old me, I didn't pay for coaching and I didn't do any of that stuff. But it was kind of before all that became the norm. Now it's the norm. I love what Coach Burt says, and some of these guys, they'll say, well, look at Michael Jordan had a coach, right? Everybody has a coach.
Right.
So a good coach can keep you focused on your direction.
And if you can't afford a coach, eXp has 80 hours of live training every single week. And if you join with an organization like Ed's, or mine is called the Freedom Team, I put that down here in the scrolling box there. The Freedom Team has almost 3,000 agents in the eXp organization. We do every other Thursday mastermind, every Tuesday trainings, other trainings on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We've got a leadership meeting on Friday. There's always ways to learn. For the agent that just doesn't have those extra nickels to spend on coaching, there's opportunities there as well. But Ed, it has been my pleasure to interview you, sir. I love your story, your history, and your future. Love your boat. I can't wait to read and view all the posts that you're going to be doing on that. And I just appreciate you spending time with me today.
Well, thank you for having me on, and anytime.
Yeah, it's been my pleasure. Again, I'm Tim Hollenden, the Hollenden team in Louisville, Kentucky with eXp Realty, and part of a 3,000 person organization inside eXp called the Freedom Team. Thanks again, Ed. Had a great day, and stay blessed, my friend, and congratulations on cancer free. Thank you. Awesome.
Take care.
My pleasure.